Hello, my friends. Well, here in the United States, the virus is kind of taking off again, to say the least. We've got some ICUs that are filled up down in Florida and some states that aren't looking so good. Now, I tend to be a person who is not really fond of a lot of government oversight, but it seems to me that we United Statesians have kind of shown ourselves inept in the face of this. I have friends on both sides of the political spectrum that like to look at the other side of the political spectrum and blame this on our leadership. But I think we all know that we can't really depend on our leadership to make our lives good. But here's an example of where we as citizens can come together and be smarter than our leaders. But as I think about this, it strikes me that it's not just about actions. All of us want to do the things that are going to protect the people around us, I think, deep in our hearts. But we're not sure what that is, and that gets confused inside of us through the media messages and the political messages that we're getting. Just take masks. Should we be wearing masks or not? Go online and you're going to see all kinds of arguments, politicized and otherwise, for both sides of that issue. And it's hard to know what to do. But I think one thing that is clear is that this is a virus that, if we are not conscious about how we interconnect with each other, is going to continue to spread. That's what's been happening in the United States. As I was saying, I don't think the real issue is the exact things we do, but it's an overall way of being that we have in the United States. It's systemic. Here, culturally, we are taught to think of ourselves as the individual above the collective whole. That just seems natural and normal and God-given to us because this is America. And we hear people giving this message. We don't trust other people because we think they're going to be thinking about themselves more than they're going to be thinking about me. That's our cultural norm. Because we've all been taught it, it's fairly true. But it is not the way that humans probably naturally interact with each other. We got this far in history because we've been a communal species that looks out for each other. And I think in the United States, we're going to have to, at some point, re-look at that basic system, that basic structure, that basic cultural teaching that says, me first. When we do that, then this nation perhaps can evolve and go forward in a new way. Because right now we're showing that we're not able to stand up to this effectively. All of this brings me to our greetings with each other. Because the strange thing about the virus is that as we need to come together, we're being asked to be apart. And this struck me the other day. I met a gentleman of the Ho-Chunk Nation here in Wisconsin, the native people here in Wisconsin. And we talked for a while and we're connecting. And then he came forward as if, because I'm a hug person, people can usually sense that. And almost like he was going to give me a hug. And then he said, he put out his elbow. And that has been one of the greetings that has been adopted by our culture, is to kind of bump elbows. Now, I'm going to propose a different one, Namaste. And I'll give some reasons for it. Because first of all, that elbow bump, it gets us right up to each other. So we're not doing a lot of social distancing there. And it's lacking in an intimacy. It's kind of fun, but it's lacking in an intimacy. Now this Namaste that you see me giving you all the time, this hails from India. And I think that I'm going to be bad and culturally appropriate it and say, can we take this beautiful tradition and adopt it and evolve it into an American greeting, into a greeting that we use here? And there's a couple of beautiful things about it. The one is that it can be done from any distance. So it preserves social distancing. I don't have to be right up to you the way I do for a hug, or a kiss on the cheek, or shaking hands, or even an elbow bump. So I can have my social distancing, but The Namaste is very, very intimate. And here's why. Because when we Namaste, we're asked not to just be mindless about it. Every time I Namaste you, I'm stopping and I'm being conscious and I'm thinking directly about you. And you can think about that other person in a couple of different ways. If you're a Christian, this Namaste can say, I see God's creation in you, just as I know that I am created by God. If you're Hindu, you can say, I see God embodied in you, same way that I know God is embodied in me. If we're scientific minded, we can say, I see the toe embodied in you, in the same way that I see the toe embodied in me. And in doing so, whatever my tradition is or my belief system is, the Namaste says, I see in you the same essence that I see in me. By the way, if you are more science-minded, and I'm thinking about the design in you that's in the design in me, there's this amazing book I have been reading by Nobel laureate Frank Wilczek, W-I-L-Z, I'll put it up here. And I'll put the title too, because it's slipping my mind. But I just finished that about 2 weeks ago, and it is an amazing dissertation on the quantum physics and the whole history of physics and what that whole idea of design behind all of this, the hidden patterns. Very fascinating. Back to Namaste. Now, there will be a time when the virus is not so present in our lives. When that time comes, we're going to be asked what kind of greetings as a culture we're going to go back to. And ideally, we'll be able to go back to hugs and handshakes and things, but we might choose to keep some elements of that Namaste because there's some benefits to it. Again, we can do it from a distance during flu season. If you're an older or vulnerable person during flu season, you can use that then. And it has the benefit of being able to reach across in these other mediums that we're using so much. So I can't shake your hand or hug you as much as I might like to, but I can Namaste you. And I can send that love, that connectedness through that Namaste, through this medium to you. It's something that can be done remotely because it's not touch required, but it still, again, is very intimate, especially if the other person knows what it is. That's why I'm sharing it with you today, because I use it in every video. I want you to know what's behind that. It's a gesture of connectedness to say that I want to be connected with you. I want to be part of your world, and I realize we're part of the same world, and I don't want to take a label and put that between you and me, because those labels, they're just thin little paper human-made things. The essential nature that makes all of us, that is something that goes far beyond our petty human conventions. That, I think, is what we need to start concentrating on, not just in the United States, but in the world. We've been doing a lot of fighting for kind of the whole history of civilized humanity and not showing ourselves as intelligent enough of an animal to find a different way. Well, there is a different way. And that is to see that the deeper connection is more important than these little superficial labels that we put between us. So let's smarten up. Let's wipe those little superficial labels aside, and let's see the interconnection that we all have. It doesn't have to be Namaste. That's just a proposed way of greeting that celebrates that. But we need to start thinking that way, I think, deep in our hearts, and rework the way United Statesian culture is structured. My friends, Namaste. Love to you all. Share your thoughts in the comments, and I cannot wait to talk with you down there. All right.